Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are in our international community. My name is Herb and I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to our monthly step guide gathering. I would invite you to join me in a version of the set aside prayer. I believe the word would be guidance is what we're looking for today. Step guide, guidance. We're looking to have support from knowledge and experience of other people and sharing ours about guiding or wanting to guide other people through the step process in order to have a spiritual awakening. Please join me. God, please set aside everything I think I know about myself, the 12 steps, spiritual awakening, and you. For an open mind and a new experience with myself, the 12 steps, the spiritual awakening, and especially you. Please join me in the serenity prayer. Again, for guidance, the middle ground. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. All right, my name is Herb, and if you're here for the first time, this is a monthly gathering of people who are interested in helping other people navigate the 12-step process. As a sponsor, as a step guide, a combination or separate. We have no rules, none, zero. And we have no real training. You are who you are, and if you want to help, or you think you want to help, then you're very welcome here to share your knowledge and your experience with helping other people as a sponsor, as a step guide, separate or together. Or if you have questions about what it all means, any aspect of it, or you've had a challenge and an experience with somebody and you'd like to invite other people to share their experience with similar situations, that's the heartbeat of what we do here. Learning from other people's experience. One of the participants had something from Einstein on their screen about wisdom. And I love quotes from Einstein. Someday I might have to read them. But wisdom, from my standpoint, is the accumulated experience that we get from making mistakes. I hope you can hear that, you especially perfectionists out there. It's not a healthy goal to want to be or think you can be perfect. Bill knew that, page 60. Perfection's not our goal. Sainthood is not our goal. Progress is our goal. You hear the term practice makes perfect. No, that's not true at all. It makes progress. Practice makes progress. Well, that's the best it gets. To show up, do the best we can, and accept it as the best we can, knowing that it's not the best we can, and it's okay. And at the end of the day, at the end of whatever it is you're doing, it's okay. I might be able to do better tomorrow. That'll be my willingness to show up and try, and God's grace to make it happen. I'm so clear on that. I don't understand it. It's almost like one of those koans, willingness and grace. grace and willingness. Which comes first? Willingness? Willing? I have a grace to be willing, or I have the willingness to receive the grace? And the answer is yes. Doesn't help me understand it, but I can observe it, and I can agree that's exactly how it works. In a mystery that I don't understand, but I'm willing to show up, and I don't know, and I don't need to know the underlying dynamic of it as an understanding. Now, here we are, and you've shown up. You can listen to the comments and discussion that we'll have today, and it will change you. Yep, if you really listen, all you have to do is listen by osmosis. Now, I do mean that. The big book says half measures availed us nothing. You know, I understand the spirit of it, but it's not right. Half measures get us something. I know that from my own personal experience. My first 10 years, most of you have heard me say it, my first 10 years, having a sponsor and then having several step guides over the 10-year period and doing the steps 4 different times over those 10 years, I got better, I got broader, I got deeper in my enlightenment, in my awakening. And it continues. Not as dynamic, not as visible, not as remarkable by my standards. But I have more light today than I had yesterday. I know it's true. I couldn't describe it. But that's my continuous experience, showing up and leaning into it. And it's my favorite image for us, so that we can be, I'm not a gentle guy in the sense that easy does it, you know, it revolts me. I'm sorry. I'm a heavy does it guy. Those of you who have been exposed know that. But so I temper it by saying, I lean gently against the spirit. And the spirit wraps its arms around me, metaphorically, poetically, yeah, and draws me forward. But I lean, and I'm willing to be taken to a place I don't even know exists. That's the point of the set-aside prayer. So, please.
So nice to see you and to hear you, and just to hear what you just said just made me feel so good.
Yeah.
It really, it's like, it's okay. Because, you know, I never felt like I was enough, and
Right.
I never felt I did enough. And in thinking of one sponsee who I've been working with for more than a year and a half at least, and she's in AA, sober many, many years, works a very strong AA program, but I'm her sponsor in OA.
Oh, yes.
And she's 100-pounder up and down over the years.
Mm-hmm.
She told me about 10 days ago that she feels she has to start her abstinence over. And I said, okay. And I said, I believe in a bottom line abstinence. You know, I'm in OA and I'm in HOW, but I don't sponsor everybody the same way, because if I sponsor an OA, they don't have to have my food plan. That's beside the point. So her abstinence was 3 meals a day and 2 snacks. And so I said, what were you doing? And she said, well, I was eating, and she started to mention, you know, getting a hot chocolate, getting a this. I'm not going to waste everybody's time with all the details, but with food, it is kind of complicated sometimes with this.
It is, but keep it simple, because
Right.
You're right. Let's not complicate it with the protocols of the various food programs.
Right. So
What's the issue here?
The issue is that she gained 7 pounds. She's been working and she wants to start her abstinence over. So I said, okay.
Well, is the criteria pounds?
No, not at all.
Well, no. So that's a correction she needs to make. It's not about weight. It's not about pounds, although right. There's some visible manifestation there. Go ahead, please.
It was about, she didn't feel she was being abstinent because it wasn't healthy snacks. It was using.
Right. It's her decision, right?
That's what I felt. And I just, you know, I didn't talk to anybody else about it. I just felt, well, she's being honest. But the thing is, and this is where you've helped me so much, that we're of course not in charge of their recovery and but she said, she's been doing everything. She's done your workshop a number of times. She goes to meetings, she meditates with the group in AA on Zoom 5 days a week. And she couldn't stay abstinent right now, but she's not leaving. And I know from you that it's not my fault and I'm not in charge of her abstinence, but it is kind of confusing with all that she's doing but she's making progress, not perfection at the same time. She's not running out and leaving again. But I just want to.
So, well, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because that's a question for a fellowship I have no experience in. And I have some exposure, a lot of exposure to the different food programs. So I've had the conversation many times over 15 years, actually, as I've had the exposure. And it's a hugely difficult issue, but it's also very personal. It's very personal. So in this case, I'm wondering, and I'm just asking a question, not to have a long discussion about it, but is her definition of abstinence healthy?
Yes.
Okay, because she says I'm not abstinent. What are the implications of her not being abstinent? Implications.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, what difference does it make?
Well, for her.
Does she still have a relationship with God?
Well, it gets in the way. This is what happens when she's not.
In what way does it get in the way?
She's the food obsession is in her mind when at other times it's not.
Well, no. The thoughts are in her mind, but not the obsession. When you have an obsession, you're eating. You don't know you have an obsession necessarily, other than the fact that you're eating, and you didn't want to. That's an obsession. An obsession is not a consciousness of the thought. That's just a thought.
Well, then she does have the obsession because she was going and getting whatever. So it was an obsession.
Okay, and my sense is she probably needs professional help.
She's getting that too.
Okay, all right, good. And then is she helping other people?
Yes, she is.
Great. So if she's showing up and doing her prayers every day and meditation every day and helping other people, that's about as good as it gets. And maybe she's powerless and it'll never get any better. And she needs to surrender to the fact that she's not going to live up to her own expectations.
There you go. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I deal with the perfectionists. I don't think I'm one, but I hear it in other people, and I'm sort of hearing it here in a way, and she just needs to accept the fact that she's not going to live up to her own expectations. Now that's why I asked about the implications. It doesn't sound like it's getting in the way of the quality of your life, other than her definition of abstinence and quality of life.
It's very subtle what you're talking about.
It is really subtle.
It's really subtle. And
no.
I think it helps me though, because I can talk to her more about perfectionism in terms when we talk.
Yeah. Well, and also the humility of step 1, unmanageability. On page 62, you know it, you've seen it, we've talked about it, I'm sure. And that is, it says, and we can't even reduce it much by wishing or trying on our own power. Oh, we can't reduce it.
Now she's told me lately, she doesn't really feel the connection to God, but she prays and she does everything with the idea that she will get more of a connection.
Well, but then again, I would ask, well, what does it mean to have a connection? It's not feeling. That's a trap. And many people fall into that trap, and it's one of my favorite areas to talk about with people. I don't feel the presence of God. Okay. So what? What is it that you believe about God? Page 53, Bill nailed it. God is or God isn't. What's your choice? And then he goes on and says, God is everything or there is no God. So here's a little play on words that's subtle until you get it, and then it explodes inside. All right. We're in pursuit of conscious contact. That's what step 3 is. We are establishing by a decision to take action, to have and to improve conscious contact. But step 2 is a choice of constant contact. God is everything or God is nothing. There is no place that there is not God. I'm in constant contact, existential, ontological, substantial, whether I know it or feel it. And the whole point of the 12-step process is to know it and sometimes feel it by improving our step 11, improving our conscious contact. How's that?
I could never repeat what you just said, but
No, it's recorded. That's the best thing about it. And I've been playing with this in terms of meditation, reflection, and writing for a long time. So that's why it kind of flows out.
it's so rich and it's so beautiful and it's so comforting. And it's
Well, that word right there, it's totally comforting. That's why I can just say I make a decision to lean into it, because it's the substance of which I'm made. In fact, I've done a reflection on God is consciousness, and my job as a conscious human being is to improve my consciousness to be more aware of the contact that is supporting me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that was prompted by this discussion because it will help release the tension of the perfectionist, I believe. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. But going back to how we started out, this is a very knotty problem. Knotty in the KNOTTY. It's a very challenging issue, and it's very personal for every individual. That's why there are probably 8 different 12-step programs for the food issue. Everyone with different approaches and different protocols and different definitions, because it probably is, in my experience, the most difficult addiction to deal with that there are, is the food addiction, because it's very biochemical and it's very personal. Yeah. Thank you so much for prompting that discussion. I hope it was helpful to you and other people.
It is. Thanks.
Hi, Herb. Thank you for that. I have to follow up on that, which is now I'm saying, what is my role as a sponsor?
Yes.
Because abstinence in OA, most probably, is just like a driving force. If you're not abstinent, I can't work with you. If you're not abstinent,
Well, but see, no, that's just making 12 steps a religion.
Yeah.
No, I mean, anytime there are rules, you're talking about a religion. You're not talking about spirituality.
Okay, so she would continue working with that woman, even though she's eating outside of her food plan. So what is our role?
Good question.
I mean, I'm very open to this.
What's your answer to
so many people go out. So many people pick up.
And what's your point?
What's my job?
What's your answer?
I thought my job was to lead them to spirit, to lead them to a power greater than themselves.
You hear yourself?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with food, does it?
Well, it also has nothing to do with you, except that you're leading them.
Okay.
That's
And-
all.
So if they don't want to be led or they're not interested, do I keep working with them?
Your choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does the book say? Read chapter 7. If they don't want what you have, let them go and move on to helping somebody else. Now, that's a discernment. That's a thinking in the milieu of prayer. What am I led to do? I worked with a guy who drank for 10 years coming to AA.
That's right.
I worked with a guy after he got sober, after the 10 years of sobriety, took 10 years to do his first 9 steps. Not my job to discipline him or parent him, but to lead him.
And that's what you did in the first 9 years. You took them to the solution.
I wouldn't talk to him on the day he was drinking. But in
And the
between
day that-
drinks, we would talk.
All right. And on the day he wasn't drinking,
I would work with him in the steps.
okay.
Yeah,
Boy, this is blowing my mind because I'll tell you, our culture is
I
so
know.
driven by rules.
it is.
Herb.
I know. I do understand it. Unfortunately, it's not healthy and it's not in the spirit of the 12-step fellowship. Bill said we have no rules. There's only 2 disciplines. And I hope the people in the eating program can at least hear it and maybe adopt it to whatever it means to them. And he said there's only 2 disciplines. One is God and one is alcohol. You're either going for one or you're going for the other. That's why I like that dimmer switch concept.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
going to your first question, which is, I mean, that's the heart of the question for this entire gathering, quite frankly. What is our role? And it's not black and white. All right, it's not black and white. But here's an image. You, Deb, are a lantern. And you stand by the side of the road and you shine the light on the path that you walked. The light of your experience. That's all you're doing. You're shining the light of your experience on the path, and they're walking the path in the light of your experience, and you want them to have their experience, not yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as long as they're walking in the light of your experience and making an effort showing up, someday they're going to get it. Or not. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I hope it's helpful. And once again, I don't have experience in a specific eating disorder program. Actually, I have no actual experience outside of AA. So I have to be very cautious about how I say things. And I have a tendency to be somewhat black and white sometimes.
Right. Well, the question of the day to all sponsors is, how do I put the food down? Number 1 question. How do I put the food down?
Well, that's a great question. No.
It is.
Because
It is.
Or somebody would ask me, how do I put the cocaine down? How do I put the alcohol down? What would be my answer?
Put it down.
No. You
Okay. That's
No,
the
you
answer that's
can't.
given
You
to me.
cannot do that.
That's right. We're
Well,
powerless,
wait.
right?
What's that? Well, what does powerless mean?
That on my own, I'm not able to put that food down. The overeating, whatever.
Simplify it. What is powerless?
Powerless.
Give me it. Yes, that means without power, but give me a synonym.
Helpless?
That would
No,
be good.
that's-
Yes. Helpless would be a good one. Hopeless would be a good one. The best one I found is no choice.
Okay.
My free will is not free in my addiction. My free will is not free in unmanageability. That's a bigger issue.
Yes.
I cannot manage my life on my own power, and yet I have the responsibility because I do have free will. But where is my free will? I'm speaking like I know what I'm talking about, and I get
Yeah, but that's
I'm a
what step
salesman.
3 is about.
Well, that's
Turning.
exactly right.
Turning that to
There's the choice I have, God or no God, relationship or no relationship. I have free will, not in addiction and not in managing my life, but I have a free will in step 2 to say God is, and in step 3, I'm going to have a relationship with that, which I have no idea even exists.
okay.
And I hope it's true.
Yeah, I do too. I'm pretty
Well, there you go.
invested in it.
See, step 2 is a faith decision. Step 3 is a hope decision. Yeah.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
And then, and this is really very much pointed at the food participants, the people in a 12-step program of food. I work 4 through 9, anticipating at the end of 9, page 84, I will be placed in a position of neutrality. Those are the words. I will be placed in a position of neutrality, but not before I finish the 9th step. So what is your job? Great question. Get them through the steps, through step 9, no matter how clumsily and awkwardly they work the steps and lead their lives.
Yeah.
And it's not about a
Absolutely.
time frame. As I mentioned, I had that guy that was drinking for 10 years and then took another 10 years to finish his 9th step. And my job was to show up when he was ready, to shine the light on the path so he could walk it at his own pace and with his own stumbling and awkwardness.
Absolutely.
Now, that's a dramatic case and a very hard case. Most of them are not like that.
This is great.
Well, see, the misunderstanding in the food programs I've been exposed to is you need to be abstinent in order to work the steps.
Correct.
It's 100% backwards and it's dead wrong. I'm not cutting
You
it.
have to work the steps to get abstinent. Yes.
Well, what does powerless mean? What does no choice mean? What is step 1? It's the platform of implosion. I need help. Step 2, help's available. Step 3, I'm going to ask and work for help. That's as simple as it can be. And then I hope it's true that at the end of the 9th step, I'll receive the promises. Drinking and eating all the way.
Yeah. Some radical stuff.
I'm not saying that's a desirable approach. The steps work much better when you're not drinking and not eating. Let's be really clear. I am not suggesting a condoning of relapse and or lack of abstinence, not one bit. But I'm saying at the end of page 43, Bill talks about addiction. There'll come a time and a place where we have no mental defense against the first drink.
Mhm.
On page 62, he says the same thing about unmanageability. We can't even, self-centeredness, we can't even reduce it much by wishing or trying on our own power. Now, anyway, that's, from my standpoint, that's the parentheses around the first step. Addiction, page 43, unmanageability, page 62. We're hopeless. We're doomed on our own power. And all we can hope for and try for, with a willingness and an effort and listening to direction, is that we somehow get effectively connected to power. As I talked to that first person about constant contact. We are connected to power, but not effectively, not consciously. And the whole point here is to become consciously and therefore effectively connected to power. Oh, that's good. I've never said that before. Yeah.
That's great. I really appreciate what you shared here. It's very
Yeah,
helpful
well,
to me.
I'm pretty confident it was helpful to a lot of people, and take it in whatever way is helpful. I'm not anyway.
Yeah, I have plenty of people that stumble and fall, and I stay with them. I stay with them because I sense that they want this and they're willing to work for it in their time. It's a beautiful thing.
And that's your answer to your very first question. What's my role?
Mm,
Yeah. To
okay.
minister to the cripples, to minister so that you bring them through a process of healing. You don't heal them, but you expose them to a process that will heal them. This is a process of healing. Yeah. Well, you've had it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, very much.
thank you so much, Herb.
Please.
Hi, Herb. I wrote down a few questions, but as I was listening to the number one question I got, especially over the holidays, was, hey, if I write this fourth column or do this seventh step, will I know if this is the right guy to get married to, or how to get married, or blah, 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 that kind of stuff. I wasn't going to ask you that, but because the number one question with food came up, I just wanted to say I found myself, there was two responses I had. One was, I'm not a dating coach. I don't know, really honoring that I was in the market in the 90s, pre-cell phone and pre-apps. So long ago, I don't know how to do that. But also, that we're here for spiritual awakening. And my experience is that I woke to my values and where my weaknesses were and got help.
Oh, say that again, please.
So I awoke to after the fourth and fifth step, especially when those deep resentments started lifting, I started awakening to what was really important to me, and started confronting those fears. And then what were my weaknesses, and getting outside help for those weaknesses, therapy, grief counseling.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and there's a lot of help out there, outside help. So anyway, but at one point I was like, are you advertising some sort of dating? But it came around Christmas, I'm all doing some advertisement that you're going to meet the man if you do my workshop. I don't know. But anyway, that's out there. I don't know if that's out there.
Well, people are dealing with life issues, and they really would like some certainty about how to, progress, because nobody likes to walk into lack of control. They want to be able to get what they want with some certainty, and that's the whole point, isn't it? But what you're saying is that you do this work and then you begin to trust yourself because you become aware of your own values and your beliefs and your own operating principles.
Yeah, which is so important.
Well, it's crucial, that's all.
Well, we find God deep within us. We have an unsuspected inner resource. That was one of the great gifts of working the steps like this, is that I was always looking out for the unsuspected inner resource.
Right.
Like the outside would give me the info. Yeah.
And that's for me the key turnaround for a spiritual awakening, is that we quit looking outside for whatever we're looking for, and we look inside, relying on our self and self-worth and the inspiration of the spirit that is deep inside ourselves. Not 100%, of course. We're here to talk about sponsorship and step guidance, because I believe the key for our continued successful and healthy progress is accountability.
And that's what brings me to my next question.
Okay.
So I have people I sponsor. My question's not about them. And I have people that I only step guide due to circumstances. I can't take a
Understand.
lot of calls from just a step guide.
Yep.
I have no requirement on if you sponsor, but I do say you might have heard in the beginning of the workshop, it's recommended. I think the participation agreement says it's recommended as well to get a sponsor in your program of focus that you're working with, right? But you know, my real question is, we run into a lot of trouble after 4. Everyone's between 4 and 9, and the ones without sponsors running into a lot of trouble. Can you do this Can you do this workshop without a sponsor? I'm trying to do it as clumsily as it's going, but I send them out for accountability. And where they previously told me how to sponsor, they come back and say, well, I don't have that character defect. I'm all, did you speak with your sponsor? They're like, well, I'm not using my sponsor, I'm using you.
Yeah.
I thought we discussed, I'm just a guy, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, can you do this without a sponsor and just keep plugging away?
Not as well, I do believe. And when you're leading a workshop, you're not their sponsor. You're certainly not even their step guide in the specialty sense. You're the generic step guide, but I do believe they should. It's better, and I don't want to use the term should. It's better for them if they have a sponsor, even if the sponsor doesn't know much about the steps, just to help them navigate their program and their life. But that they even have a step guide or a small group. One of the things that's developed in the workshop community is they've initiated small groups, groups of 2s and 3s or 10s and 15s, somewhat small, in between the workshops where they discuss things like this. Usually it's a women's stag or a men's stag. I haven't heard much about a co-ed one, but be that as it may, a small group in between. So I do believe that your role is the generic conductor, but not the individual trainer or music coach.
That's what I was thinking. And, you know, and actually all these people are it's great that we have the YouTube. There's so much more resources that
Right.
they can just go back to.
Right.
So they're in there. And I was thinking my role is more like when I broke my finger, the doctor splinted it and said, do these exercises. But the physical therapist was like, these ones this week. Just breaking it down. I'm not really giving you any more info, but did you hear he said do the prayer before column 3, you know, just reminding, like maybe you missed some info, you know,
I like that.
or
I like
slow
it.
down.
It's a great image. That's correct.
Okay, yeah. And you know, a friend of mine is long-term AA Al-Anon. She's all, it sounds like the people you're step guiding are doing a sneaky addict duck and hide. Like, oh, I have accountability with my sponsor, so I'm not gonna do it with you. And then when I ask them about it, they're like, well, you're my sponsor now. And I'm like, but I'm not.
No.
I don't know you. I'm not in the same state. We never talk personal stuff. We only talk.
Good.
Do you have any input on that?
Yes, you're correct.
Just say, no, I'm not your sponsor.
No.
It's recommended to have one, or at least accountability partner.
Right. Yeah.
And then
You
give them their
need a
homework.
personal, individual accountability partner. You just use those terms, accountability partner. It doesn't have to be a sponsor or a step guide. It could be a therapist. It could be a good friend. It could be, but it needs to be true. It can't just be a check the box.
Okay, and then they do that. I don't really go to my work, my program anymore because I'm getting everything I need out of Herb and you.
Yeah.
Cringe.
Yeah, that it's a mistake, and we have no rules. I recommend that people connect to a physical meeting. Now today we're out of COVID, that they connect to a physical meeting. People got really used to it, and it's very effective and comfortable to go to Zoom meetings. But I think once a week to go to a physical meeting, continue with your Zoom meetings, but this workshop is not a replacement for the fellowship.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very clear to me. The workshop is not a replacement for the fellowship, although it will spoil your regular meetings.
It does a little bit. Yeah, that is true. It's good to know that so you don't get off put, that you're there to be of service now.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so I'll go back and emphasize, I do get a lot of sponsorship questions. If they're not in my fellowship, I don't answer any of them. Occasionally I do say, well, here's my experience in AA.
It depends on the questions. Like I tried to answer some of the questions in the eating disorder fellowships, but I'll try definitely to extricate myself from that conversation as soon as possible because I don't have the experience, and especially dealing specifically with the food and whatever else the protocols are. But dealing with the 12-step process and sponsorship and the steps themselves, then that has nothing to do with sponsorship.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your time, Herb.
Thanks very much. Well, you're very I mean, you've been at it for a while individually and as groups, so you've got a lot of wonderful experience. Thank you so much. Yeah, please.
Hi, I just think this has been a great meeting so far. I have a couple of things. One, when you were talking about, that our role is a lantern, and I got thinking that, like, if we're holding the lantern and we're following along a path and they quit following our lantern, that doesn't mean that we shut our lantern off, that we stop.
There's
And we
nothing
say,
to
well,
do with-
you know what, you're not doing as I said, or you're not.
First of all, you're not
That's
you're not carrying the lantern. You are the lantern.
Right. So I'm at
Ah.
like, so I'm shutting myself off. Absolutely. Yeah. So
Right.
I take myself out of the picture to them. Oh, it's almost like a punishment. Oh, if you're not going to do what I say, you know what? I'm gone. I'm out of here. Tough. See you later.
I have never fired
You
him.
know, that's what I meant. Like, so when that analogy about, being a lantern and that. So the other thing, just when you were talking about, our consciousness, to improve our conscious contact. And I was thinking about how it involves working not just the 11, but the 12 steps all along. Like that first 3, I think, is our relationship with God. So we got that down pat. We want a God, we have a God. And then 3, 4, and 5, we're getting relationship with ourself, right? We're starting to understand.
Well, wait.
Why I do things.
Wait. Just to be clear, I think I know what you mean, but you're not saying what you mean. The first 3 are a relationship with God.
Yes.
Next 4 are a relationship with yourself.
Right.
4, 5, 6, and 7.
7. Okay, great. And then of course, then relationship with others. And then 10, 11, and 12, just repeat, repeat almost all of them again. So that kind of, it's, so when we're finished with the 9th step, I always think that I was going to have arrived, but I'm never going to arrive, because
I wonder what not cured means.
Yeah. Because, okay, the question came up. I was working with Joe and so here was my dumb question to her, which maybe it was, I said, listen, I don't think I can make an amends. Can I, if I'm still doing the behavior? And she said, whoa. What are you doing in your 7th step? I said, what do you mean? 7th step prayer. Oh, no, I'm not doing it. Oh, so you know what I'm meaning? Like, what I'm saying is, I don't know if I'll ever get rid of some of these character but one was advice giving, just butting into other people. That's my, really bad one. And I'm still doing it. So 7, I have to continually do it. I wonder, like that inclination you talk about, you may stop the behavior, but you're still inclined. And so you better be working on it all the time, or you're going to go back to doing it, kind of thing. So I don't know if that, it just came to me that I'm not doing it, so that I'm praying. And then I have asked my sponsor to make me accountable, so I'm reporting on myself. So I guess where I'm going with it, like, that it's an ongoing, we're never going to be finished. Maybe the gently pressed against it is a really good way to look at it too. Just we're never ever, like that, like you said, never cured.
Well, and we're never cured,
Yeah.
not cured, it says, and a daily reprieve. We
Mhm.
commenced, he says, we in the same section, we commenced this way of living. We commenced this way of living, 10, 11, and 12. As we clean up the past, we live in 10, 11, and 12. As you said, wash, rinse, and repeat. That's what we're doing here. The dimmer switch, this is a wonderful metaphor again. We lean against the dimmer switch so that it doesn't go backwards because it's hardwired structurally to go backwards. And we lean into it so we push it forward and it goes up a notch at a time. If we don't lean into it on a daily basis, it goes down a notch at a time.
Yes, yes. And what I've done in the past is I've gone to all the work to identify, all these things in 4, and even write out the character defects, share it with number 5, and then do nothing at all. Like just sort of stop. And I'm wondering why things aren't getting better. And I'm realizing because I'm just kind of
Well, you've
like
heard
that
my story,
I'm analyzing
Carol.
to death.
Carol, well, maybe you are, but
Yeah.
it sounds to me like you're being wonderfully conscious, quite frankly, and responsible. So, be careful about the negative judgment.
Yeah.
You've heard my experience with 6 and 7. You're right on the money there, but it wasn't one and done.
No.
It was, I prayed the 7-step prayer on a daily specific basis.
Yeah.
For both the inclination and the behavior. The behavior went away within 24, 48 hours, but the inclination was still there for 2 years. I prayed specifically each day for the removal or mitigation of the inclination, and I reported to my accountability partner every day until once a week was enough, and then once a month. But I continued the process of 6 and 7 for 2 years.
Yes.
Until the defect inclination was removed, that I wasn't even an inclination.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what it. I'm thinking, I'm just going to do this for a little while, and it will be gone. And then I'm wondering why, that idea you talked about, once you get to 9, it'll be smooth sailing, not smooth sailing, but it'll be easier.
It'll be a lot smoother.
But only if you're working.
That's
the other ones,
That's
keeping
correct.
that in mind. Okay,
Yep.
Good. I just had to review that. Thanks again. Yeah.
Thanks again. All of these we need reminders of. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to move on.
Hello, Herb. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing today?
It is an amazing meeting.
Yeah, good.
Very helpful. I do have some doubts about a guy that I sponsor. And we had a very powerful start. He asked me to help him with the steps. We had a powerful start from the beginning. But after 2 or 3 months, this working the steps stopped. And then he started calling me once a week and talking about his issues. And there is no work job, And my concerns, my doubts is, you were saying that meet him where he is. I am answering the phone and we're talking. Sometimes, most of the times, to be honest, it's a problem-oriented discussion.
Of course. Are you his sponsor?
Yes.
Okay. And so when I get calls from the people I sponsor, and they're also started working the steps, and they start talking about their personal lives and problems. Now, it's not black and white, but I'll normally at some point, maybe after a minute or after 20 minutes, depending on their need to talk, I'm not going to be righteous about it, but I'll bring them back to the step work. How's your work on step 4? Oh, you're not doing step 4? Well, do some work on step 4 and call me again. Thank you. Bye. I'm not their therapist, and I'm not their confessor, and I'm not their parent. All right. So I don't play the role of counselor.
So my doubt is am I enabling him? Am I preventing him from growth?
Maybe. That's a question for you to ask yourself and your sponsor, to get direction from your sponsor as to, so what's the compassionate thing to do? Sure, I've listened to people for an hour and a half sometimes, because that's where they're at in their life, and I'm their sponsor. So, I mean, I'm trying to sort of help them navigate that. Yes, but eventually I'll bring them back to God and the steps, because that's the solution. Or maybe I'll recommend professional help, because there's a lot of people that need professional help and even medication. I don't give them any recommendations in those areas because I'm not qualified, and that's not my role. But I certainly am very strong in terms of people, as I see it, who need professional help and or medication. Yeah.
So the point is to find the balance, to acknowledge my defect.
Well, and that's how this whole discussion started today. The woman asked, "So what's my role?" And you're helping define that. That's right. It's not black and white. There are no rules. There's no protocol. There's no cookie cutter. Yeah.
What does it mean, this word?
Cookie cutter? Oh, to make cookies, like a brownie, like a like a star or a snowman.
So the sponsor does have a responsibility.
And the one word that I use, the lenses through which I look, is how can I help you? Truly help, though. You mentioned the word enable. All right. That's not helping. Enabling is co-signing their self-pity and or their delusion about what the solution might be.
I think, to be honest, in this specific guy, I'm doing it. Now, to be honest.
Oh, you knew that. That's why you brought up the word. You knew that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have the problem of being too nice. That's not in my nature, but you probably do.
Yes, and one other defect in this situation is that I am over available. You know, this word that I heard from these meetings from Al-Anon, this emergency that I have inside me. Let's help him. Let's help him. The ambulance. Let's
All right. Well, do you go to Al-Anon?
No.
Do you think you might want to try a few meetings of Al-Anon?
Sometimes, yes. It is on the program. It's yes.
You know, there's no downside for you to go to 4 meetings. I wouldn't go to less and make a decision, but go to 4 meetings, 1 a week for 4 weeks, and see what it feels like. It might, you talk it over with your sponsor. It might be helpful because they've made a science of distinguishing between enabling and helping.
Well.
And you've been exposed to me I've been to you for many years now. So I'm pretty confident that you have an inclination to be very helpful, maybe a little too much helpful.
Yes, I do. But, you know, you're saying that about the progress, I can't be in the next step before my time, you know.
Right.
I can't walk forward than this growth. I have to wait. And one other thing that we were talking about wisdom, to making mistakes, what is helpful, what it's working and what it's not working. And I came to this meeting, you know, with this doubt. am I enabling him? And the answer is obvious yes.
Well, maybe not black and white, but the answer may be yes.
And you said that maybe there is another point to look at it.
Well, the real point is the person started the work and is not doing the work. So their life is not going to get better until they do and finish the work. And that's what you need to be convinced of.
So it is okay sometimes to be rough and sharp.
I'm
From your standpoint.
I'm a hard ass. All right.
Yes. Sometimes, no, not all of the time. Sometimes.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
All right, Donald.
That's for now. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please.
I have a specific question about somebody that I'm helping with step 4. I'm her step guide, and I've run into this with her before, and I'm kind of needing some help. So some of her resentments are 3-way and 4-way resentments. So what I mean by that is she, for instance, is mad at her sister because of how her sister has chastised her or criticized her for how she treats her mother. So there's a 3-way, and I'm having trouble sort of, I know there's a resentment there. I just don't know exactly how to walk her through this column 3 and the column 4 when there's the 3 people involved. And
Well,
then
but there's not 3 people involved.
No,
there's only one person involved.
her and her resentment towards her sister.
Her reaction. Right. Whatever. And she needs to be very specific. Is her reaction toward her sister? All right. Is that, or
Yes.
is her reaction about the way the sister treats somebody else, or whatever the dynamic?
Yes.
But it's her reaction. So in third column, what's her belief? Sisters should.
Yeah, sisters should be supportive, loving.
Whatever it is, she needs
Yeah.
to take a look at her belief and ask herself, is it true? Is her belief objective truth, or is it just the story she made up about sisters?
Right.
And then in the fourth column, what's her motive? What does it have to do with her?
Well, that's to me, the complicating part is that
It's not
part of it-
complicated. It's not complicated.
no.
No, you're complicating it, or you're listening to her story and buying into her story. Her story's bullshit.
Ah,
The total story is bullshit. Her sister is none of her business
right.
at all, period. End of comment. So it's her reaction that she needs to take. So why is what's the benefit to her? This woman who's having this resentment, what's the benefit to her of holding this energy?
Well, I think moral superiority.
Well, it's interesting what you think, but it's what she thinks is important.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
That is her motive. And then she threw in, well, she's trying to protect her husband. So that's what I meant by a 4-way.
I don't understand. Wait. Is her job to protect anybody?
I believe, I'm just starting to understand it. That is her belief, that she is protecting
I understand
a lot
that.
of
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that's what she thinks.
Yeah.
But is that objectively true? Is that her role?
No,
it's not her role.
it's an illusion. I mean, the illusion that she can control that stuff is,
Or even
not
that it's any of her business.
yeah.
Her husband's reaction to life is his business, not hers. And if she has a problem with that, she needs to go to Al-Anon.
Mm. Oh, yeah. That's coming up today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that helps me to sort of see it more clearly,
Yeah.
because I was getting really messed up with,
Well, because you're into her story.
I guess so.
There's
I
only
guess so.
there's no moving parts in resentment.
Hmm.
There's only one reaction that's creating the resentment. There's a perception of the moving parts outside, but it's my perception that is a delusion, and it's my reaction that is creating the resentment.
And it doesn't matter how many people are involved in the delusion.
No.
Okay. I think I'm getting it, Herb.
Well,
Thank you.
no, it is a process, and what's important is that you ask her some of these questions so that she gets a little more specific about the source. The suffering that she has is the story that she's holding. The source of the suffering is the lenses through which she's looking.
So when she's on the stage, I guess that's for Pride. When she's on the stage, is she on the stage just with her sister?
It depends on what she's looking at. She could be on the stage with her husband, and the audience is watching her role with her husband, and what's that? So there's lots of moving parts here. That would be a wonderful way to tease it out, to help her tease it out. Yes. Use that process.
Okay. Well, you've given me lots of food for thought. Thank you. Thank you, Herb.
I think your challenge is to attempt to get the questions clear and specific so that you can have her ask herself the questions. You don't actually really know what the answers are, but you know what the questions are.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
Good. Thank you so much for that.
Right, you bet. Thank you. Please.
I hope you can hear me okay.
Very nicely, yes.
I've been sober in Alcoholics Anonymous for 7 years. And in that time, I have struggled with sponsorship. I have had 6 different sponsors.
All right.
And I have come to believe that the reason is because I wasn't as thorough as I could have been in the process of the steps. But when I brought that to the attention of the sponsor, we had a falling out. They accused me of just not obeying their instructions.
Well, first of all, if anybody uses the term obeying, you need to run from them. Because that's a very unhealthy word in a sponsor relationship. A sponsor gives suggestions. Your role is to listen to them and to determine that they're a healthy suggestion, at least by their standards, and to attempt to take those suggestions. So anyway, it's possible that the problem is your problem, that you're picking people that are not healthy, or the problem is your problem that you're not willing to take direction. I don't know, but 6 sponsors in 7 years tells me there's a problem with you, not with them.
I understand. Thank you for the opportunity to share this with you.
Well, what are you looking for in a sponsor?
Because my past relationships have been unsuccessful, I don't know what an effective sponsor-sponsee relationship looks like.
Right. Yep. That's an excellent answer, by the way. There's a book called 12-Step Sponsorship out of Hazleton that might be helpful if you're a reader to read that. Or you could go to my YouTube channel, and I have I think it's a 2-hour presentation discussion about sponsorship, which might be helpful to you. It's
Yes, I'm aware, and I will do so.
yeah, it'll probably be helpful. And then you're welcome to call me, email me, and set up a phone call. We can have a personal discussion to try to help you navigate to the other side of that.
Yes, I would very much like to do that.
All right. Thank you for coming on and chatting with us.
Okay, there. Can you hear me?
Very nicely.
Okay. Thank you, Herb, so much. And you really got my attention with the when you said don't answer the question or something. I found that if I did that with the women I sponsor, I ask a question and they right away want to tell me the answer. And I said, no, it's not for me to know the answer. It's you. And they get kind of like disappointed because they want to explain. I said, think about it. And then, if you want to tell me later, fine. And this has only happened over the years. I've been sober 5/15/87. I've been sober a long time. But only in the last, since I retired, have I really focused on defining my role as a sponsor. And actually, it's less than what I thought. It's, oh my God. And it works so much better. I don't say so much. I just, listen. Oh man, it's just been awesome. So that's why I want to do this. I want to be more helpful, and because this stuff is great. I mean, when to get sober, awesome. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
But to have the peace of mind and the stillness in your heart, what a gift. What a gift. And now I'm kind of, expanding on the meditation more and just being there, just like you said, being that light. I don't have to do a lot. I just have to kind of be and share what it was like for me, and then let them have their own experience. And this is so helpful. Thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you. That's a great comment toward the end of our discussion today, because that's the code. That broke the code. I'm a lantern. I'm not the light. All right. I can share my experience, but I can't fix you. Exactly. Thank you so much. Very much, Marty. Short one, please.
I got two questions. One thing. So it's my perception, like you went over, you said it's my perception that's creating the delusion and my reaction that's creating the resentment.
Correct.
Correct?
Right.
So through the process of AA, the 12 steps at Al-Anon and the stuff I've done, I've been able to minimize that delusion by not going there to that perception.
Right. Right. No, we have a new pair of glasses and we're seeing more of the truth, and therefore we live in alignment with reality. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of that was.
What's your question, Brian?
Well, why do you think, and this is a separate issue that I was going to ask originally, why do you think more people don't surrender to a higher power or to God in the program and struggle?
If I could answer that question, I could write a bestseller. Yeah, I don't know why. What makes it that you have and I have willingness and the translate into action, and 95% of the people who are suffering don't.
So it's, I think
95% of the people who come into the program, 95% of the people who come into my workshop go away and continue to suffer until they die. I don't know the answer to that, except my goal is to be more effective so that we have a better result. And I don't know how that works. But
I think
show up and we're free.
Yeah, I think willingness is key. When I heard that word, I thought, well, that's certainly a big part of it. Is the lack of willingness a layer of denial? Because in AA, I learned that there was a lot of denial.
But see, what you're trying to do now is figure it out. And I've already said, I've spent 40 years attempting to figure it out. It's a mystery, and I'm resigned to the fact I will never figure it out.
Got it. Yeah, well, indeed. Yeah.
So we live with the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Herb.
You bet. I want to show you guys a version of the 7-step prayer, which I've been tinkering with. I've changed it to kind of put it into the framework of emotional sobriety. So let's try it. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, healthy and unhealthy. I pray that you now remove from me every single inclination and behavior that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my helpfulness to others. Grant me knowledge, strength, and courage as I go out from here to try to do your will by living in alignment with reality as it really is.